Right, Kimpulapula of Vukani Community Radio. Your time now is 24 minutes after the hour, 2 o'clock. I did say that round about this time, we'll be getting into the second conversation of the day. Usindiswa Mbonambi. She is a UIF practitioner and specialist. And I wanted to find out just quickly, Uba Uyasiva. Nasindiswa, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. I want us, because we're talking all things UIF today, I want to give you an opportunity firstly to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the world of business.
All right. I just want to clarify something quickly. This is not a business. It's basically somebody who was passionate and who loved to read. So as I was going through the social media platforms, I realized that there was a lot of misinformation and misconception about the UIF. And I started digging deep and doing a lot of research. And then I took it upon myself to say, I am going to educate our own people in terms of them understanding the purpose of the UIF and why it was established in the first place. Because a lot of them has that misconception about investment. Your investment is an insurance.
All right. I didn't know that some people can actually think that investment, but get I mean, if you don't know anything, you could literally think it's whatever, like whatever qualifies.
Yeah, if you don't know, you will assume, because a lot of them, with the questions that they pose, they will say, why am I not getting my money, all of it? Why am I not going to resign to get my money? And they need to understand and align themselves with what is UIF, why it was established, and what is its purpose. Then they will be able to understand the operation part of the UIF.
All right. Now let's get into helping someone who does not understand. Jay, from a basic layman perspective, what is UIF?
Okay, UIF is an unemployment insurance fund that is covering 7 benefits: unemployment, maternity, paternity, illness, adoption, reduced work time, as well as death benefit. So if somebody doesn't understand, it was established to cater for a short term while people are going through rainy days, while they are still looking for something solid.
Okay, and when it comes to the aspect of someone understanding, what do you need to do in order for you to qualify? Like, what are the requirements in order for you to actually qualify in getting your UIF?
You first have to be a contributor, and you must work for 24 hours, more than 24 hours per month, because UIF has inclusion and exclusion. People like yourselves, independent contractors, unfortunately, they do not qualify for UIF. People who are earning commission, they do not qualify for UIF. And people who are working for the government institutions, some government institutions, they do not qualify for UIF. Your policies, your soldiers, your municipality officers, your ministers. But those that are qualifying for UIF are the ones that have to work for more than 24 hours per month. Foreign nationals who have valid documentations to be and to work in South Africa. Those who are working for private entities. If Vukani says, Cindy, so I will take you in as an internship worker, you do qualify for UIF. And one has to also be a contributor, and the employer needs to terminate the service of the employee.
So now, when someone is actually, qualifies, let's say someone fully qualifies, meets the requirements for them to actually submit their own UIF application, what is the process that they need to follow to successfully submit their application, and with which department, like where do they go?
All right, there's 2 platforms where one can submit an application for UIF2. You can either submit it at the Department of Employment and Labor Walk-in Center, or you can submit it on U-Filing. And then I'm going to make an example with the unemployment benefit in terms of the documentations that one needs. You need your UI-19, UI 2.8. You can get this at the Department of Employment and Labor. You can get it at the ABSA ATM. You can also get it at the Capitec ATM. Your ID or a passport, if you are a foreign national, I'm repeating, if you have the valid supporting documents to be and to work in South Africa. A service letter and a registration that you are a work seeker. You can submit those documentations after submitting your application either at the Department of Employment and Labor or on U-Filing. Now, the turnaround times at the Department of Employment and Labor is 20 working days on a perfect application, and online is 35 working days if you're submitting it there. Once it has errors, those turnaround times are extended.
All right. And for someone who is thinking that they have been contributing, or maybe someone doesn't understand what contribution means, please explain what you mean when you're saying you need to be contributing in order for you to be eligible to receive a component or a portion of UIF or apply on the UIF.
Credits.
And the second one is with that, so it's contribution. What does that mean? And then secondly, it is, what do you then get?
Okay, when employers start to become operational, it is by law that they need to register their employees to UIF and declare them. Now, the employer will pay a 1% from your salary, and you as an employee will pay a 1%. That makes it a 2%. Now, let's take a high earner as well as a low earner. A high earner will not have to pay more than 177 Rand 12 cents. The cap amount is 17,712. Even if you can earn 25,000, the cap amount for UIF or deductible amount for UIF is 17,712. In your case, you will be contributing 177 Rand 12 cents. In return, UIF is giving you 582 Rand 32 cents, plus a certain percentage on top of that. If somebody is contributing 50 Rand, in return, UIF is giving them 163 Rand.
Now, okay, for every 50 Rand contributed. Now, I'm thinking, if I've been contributing to UIF for 20 years,
1%. 1%, contributing 1%, keep that in mind, because like I said, they confuse UIF and Provident Fund. Provident Fund is an investment fund. UIF is an insurance fund. This one caters for you during rainy days while you are still looking for something solid with the terms and condition of the termination and turnaround time. Provident Fund does not have a turnaround time nor a termination reason. You resign, you abscond, contract ends, they still pay you. This one, in our terms and conditions,
I see. But I think what I wanted to find out is, do you get more money out of UIF based on the length of years? I understand it's 1% contribution from you, 1% contribution from the employer to a maximum of about 17,000. And that's just it. Now, because now I've been working for 3 years and my sister has been working for 10 years, does it mean they get more money than me?
Let me give you a typical example that is valid. There's somebody who has worked for 32 years. Take a 1% of that person, 177 Rand 12 cents, divide that by 384 months, which is 32 years, is 68,000. And then you take you working for 36 months, which is 3 years, contributing 50 Rand. If they take that 50 Rand, you are equal to 1,800. But what UIF does, in 12 months, they give you more than that. Because remember, your 1% is in return, UIF gives you 582 Rand 31 cents. In that 50 Rand, UIF is giving you 163 Rand.
I see. So I wanted to also ask, why is the UIF not investing this money so that there's also interest on the money that I'm supposed to receive?
Because it's an insurance. Let us go back to why it was established in the first place. In its inception, the UIF was established in 1937, right? And it was only catering for a certain industries. Now, as time goes on, there was a lot of changes or improvements, including the administration. It was only catering for unemployment benefit for a certain number of employees as well as certain industries. In 1966, it was changed. It moved to 1977 to 1979. It was improved. They started including other benefits as well. You were paid for 3 months if you were on maternity. Now they're paying you for 4 months. You were paid for 6 months, then now you're being paid for 12 months if you have worked for more than 4 years.
I see.
So there's a number of improvements that have been introduced with time as it goes on, and more people were also added to benefit from this benefit or from this fund, if I were to put it like that.
I see. Now let's talk about things that will cause you not to qualify or exclude you from UIF. I already have a question here that asked, I've got a sister that resigned 20 years ago, and she never got her UIF because she's the one who resigned. Talk to us about some of the things that cause you not to be able to get your money for UIF, and also answer that specific question.
Okay, there's 2 termination reasons that UIF does not pay for. It's when you abscond and when you terminate the service as an employee. So if you are employed, your sister, let's answer her, she resigned 20 years ago. What happened between 20 years and now? Hence, I'm saying a lot of people assume UIF is an investment fund, it's an insurance fund with the terms and conditions. I need to emphasize that. So if you resign in 2019, right? And then you don't work. In 2022, you find employment. Your employer terminates the service. In 2023, you qualify for UIF because it's the employer. Remember, if the termination reason is not the fault of your own, contract end, dismiss, retrench, whichever you name it, then the UIF will pay. Remember, it is stepping in to cover you or to help you. Ikmita halfway is not the money for vacation. Iyakuhlangabeza i-UIF to say, let's meet you halfway while we are still looking for something solid, right? But if you resign, 20 years later, you want to claim, unfortunately, you will, and 110% I will give you this for free, you will forfeit that money.
And clarity on the resignation. What if I resign now? Let's maybe remove the dynamic of it being 20 years ago. What if I resign now? What happens?
Now you resign. Within 12 months, if you have found employment. If you resign in 2023 March, and then December 2023, you find employment, you will have to work a minimum of 13 weeks because you have an employment history. So those credits will be activated by this current employment with the 13 weeks for you to activate them, and then you can claim if the employer terminates the service.
So if there's no termination of the service,
okay, if the employer, because a lot of them don't get paid on time, and I get a lot of questions, people saying UIF is taking longer to pay, it's because the applications are either an error or the employers are not adhering to the UIF. They do not declare them, they do not register them, they do not write the right termination reason. Xa ufika ku-UIF, kuthiwa abscondile on UI-19, kuthiwa when your contract ended. All those things are causing the UIF to open their eyes. It's a red flag, they park the application.
I see. I also have another question. Someone is saying, where do you check if you have UIF?
If you are registered, let's speak the UIF language now. If you want to see if you are registered for UIF by your employer, if you have a U-filing profile, go to the U-filing profile, go log in. There's a tab called employment. Underneath that tab, there's one that will say get declarations. If you do not see your company's name under that tab, you must start talking to your employer and find out which ones are. When you dial *134*843#, which is USSD, you will go to the option number 3. You will get the recent declarations that were submitted by your employer. However, on the U-filing, you will get a 5 years history that your employer, you will see if it's green, then your employer did the right thing in the first place. If it's red, it will say no information. Start giving your employer a call and say, why are we not on that list? Because it means the employer did not pay. What the employer do, they pay via SARS and payroll system. They do not declare on UIF. You see the difference? They are paying via SARS. If I pay on Vukani FM, I do not send a POP to indicate la mali endibhatalile kabani. UIF will take the money and put it aside. Then people will start saying UIF is the money. UIF does not know how to distribute the money. You pay via SARS or payroll system, you go to your filing, you indicate by submitting our declarations to say, this money that I paid belongs to these employees of mine. Then UIF will allocate it accordingly. UIF only find out which employer is not registered when you submit an application, unfortunately.
And there's nothing I can do, ne? If the employer did me dirty by not registering, and I'm thinking for 5 years I'm supposed to be, and then they terminate or retrench or whatever. When I go there, there's nothing I can do.
There is something we can do, actually. They can go to a Department of Employment and Labor walk-in center. When they get there, they must request to speak to an inspector. They must not ask for a manager. They must not ask for a supervisor. They need to ask for somebody known as an inspector. Their job is to ensure that your employer declares or comply with UIF. Employers, if you are listening, if you do not declare or register your employees, honeys, you are going to pay up to 30% of your revenue. No employer will want to lose that much. I can tell you that right now.
That's a lot. I think
it's a penalty fee, yes.
It better just comply. Another question,
Yes.
asking about tribal or traditional councils. How do tribal or traditional councils get registered? And for them to, because traditional councils and tribal institutions will have like employees that are under them. So they're asking, how do they then also ensure that their employees are registered on UIF? How do they go about that process?
Inspector does that better. The inspectors will do that better for them, because the inspector will go to the offices physically and ensure that they comply with their terms and conditions. So those people will need to go to the Department of Employment and Labor and report them to the inspector. The inspector will intervene on their behalf.
Okay, that's the answer to that question. The inspectors are the best ones to assist in that regard. So you can go to a Department of Labor walk-in center and request to speak to an inspector, and then they will be able to assist you with that process.
Yes.
Another question is someone found out that they cannot get their UIF money because they need a bank statement and they are not able to get it.
There's a various reasons why UIF will request for a bank statement. I'll give you the common reasons. One, they would be suspecting a fraud. Secondly, the money that they're about to pay is more than 25,000. Or the person did not submit what they call a COP, the continuation of benefit. Others know it as a request for payment. Most of the social media platforms, they know it as the signing. The person did not follow those processes of submitting a COP every 28 days from the last COP submission. Maybe we submit after 35 days or 40 days or so. So UIF is trying to establish if the person, how did they survive if they did not submit a COP after submitting an application and they were approved. So I would suggest the person to submit the 3 months bank statement. Usually they want a 3 months bank statement, the last pay slip prior to you being terminated, as well as some certain documentation, including the service letter. Once they receive those, then they release the money, it hits your bank account.
All right. Another question says, my UIF benefit has been delayed since 12 February. Why? Please assist. What do you think would be the reason for a delay?
There's a number of reasons why applications delay, and I get a lot of those questions, and I will answer them. If you submitted at the Department of Employment and Labor, it's 20 working days for a perfect application. Online is 35 working days for a perfect application. Should your application has error, UI-19 is not completely filled, authorized person point 1, point 11 is not signed, termination date, termination reason, company name, you are Vukani Community Radio on U-filing, on UI-19, you are Community Radio. It's 2 different names. It's an error to UIF. Termination date says abscondment, UI-19 says contract ended, it's an error. Termination date is not there. You are actively employed online, you are terminated on UI-19, it's an error. reference number does not match, company address does not match, your surname and initials do not match, Uthandisa Mahe, but on UI19 kubhalwe TS Mahe, it's somebody else that we don't know of, then they park all those applications. When you return with the application that has updated supporting documents, your 35 or 20 working days falls away. You are now going on the queue, and they will have to deal with all those 9 provinces before they get to your application.
Yo, it's an interesting one. It's a very, very interesting one. And I think, you know what, I'm learning that we just need to master the process. And if we can master the process and understand it clearly, there will be less hiccups. And I think, we'll be much more able to accommodate some of the things that happened within the processes if we understand the process. And I think you are unpacking it very well for us. Another one that I wanted to ask is fraudulent attempts with someone falsely claiming a UIF. Can you talk to us about those? And what are some scenarios, one or two that you've seen that have happened in that space?
Of course, I need to people are advertising a lot of falsely employment, and somebody will hand in their CVs with their personal details. What they do is they take your personal details, they go online, they submit those as supporting documents as if it's you. What UIF has done is they on you filing, they have what they call a vetting questions. So they start asking you a lot of vetting questions to ensure they are talking to the right person. Once you fail one vetting question, one time they block you out. For you to access that account again, you need to submit your own personal details like your IDs or whatever. They verify if it's you, they unlock your account. And others will start to work with officials. There's no company that does not have any those potatoes, and then others will go to the third party. UIF is very against utilizing the third party because of POPI Act. Now, what they do is they will come to you and say, I will make your application to be paid fast. They will send you the screenshots of people that assumingly were paid and then tell you that pay them 1.8, they will fast track your application. There's nothing like that. There was a man who was calling a lot of applicants to say, if you are on maternity, let me know how far you are and then I'll pay you the money. Out of desperation, the applicants will pay the money, assuming that they're talking to the official. And some of these fraudulents, they are using officials' email addresses. So you need to be very careful, especially sharing those personal details with people. Don't do that. What you need to do is to align yourself with the UIF processes and understand the situation. Do not put the UIF money into the budget. Give internal processes to take place, they will pay. What is important with the UIF is the date when you submitted your application. You can submit it in 2022. If they did not pay you then and you have credits, I can bet you right now, Thandisa, they will pay you if you have credits. So abantu bethu bafuna ukusubmitha namhlanje kusasa bhadalwe ayikubvacation ayihambi kanjalo mayizoduma, especially UIF.
You don't like vacation. I can see you don't like vacation associated with UIF money. Right? Sindisa, we are out of time. This is really a beautiful conversation and we're learning a lot in such a short space of time. I think I'll need to call you back again because
I wish to.
Yeah, I think I'll call you back again so that we can cover
unpack all things UIF.
Even more, yes. And just before I let you go, you are a UIF practitioner and a specialist, and you do take you assist people with processes. So if now our listeners want assistance with you directly, how do we contact you? How do we find you?
Okay, before I close quickly, 2 minutes, another thing that is a scam when it comes to UIF, abanye abantu bathola umsebenzi uphele badroba imali ye-UIF, wala sathatha imali ye-UIF athola umsebenzi uba la akasakhuluma uyathula adrobe le mali akasayitsheli i-UIF ukuthi uthola umsebenzi. Kusasa uyaphela umsebenzi we-UIF ithi b sambamba besimbhadala kanti uyasebenza bese uzokoloda i-UIF. Bangakwenzi lokho. They can get me on C for Charlie, N for November, B for Bravo community, CNB community, on all our social media platforms.
Thank you so much, Sindisa, for your time. It has been quite an insightful conversation, but Iklesha is our enemy right now. So I have to.
Thank you so much. I would love to come back in Bambangazo.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.